Hello. In this video, we will go over setting up GitHub Enterprise and GitHub Copilot licenses for users who are leveraging GitHub as their source code platform. If you have set up SSO configuration for your GitHub Enterprise tenant and you have assigned an Azure subscription, then you are now ready to start assigning licenses for folks to leverage AI capabilities. Remember that this video goes over the first scenario where you have both GitHub Enterprise and Copilot licenses, best for teams that have their source code on GitHub and want to leverage agentic capabilities like the coding agent or code review agent. Let's jump in. I have my GitHub Enterprise tenant here as the administrator. I have already configured SSO and an Azure subscription has been added. There are two things that I want to do. I want to create an organization and enable Copilot for that organization and its users. Let's take a look. First, I'll create the organization by navigating to organizations in the top left. I will select new organization and enter an organization name. Ensure your organization name is unique and represents the business unit or the group that you want to create the organization for. I will then finish the organization creation. Awesome. We'll come back to this organization to wrap up creation in a bit. Let's now head back to our enterprise view and enable Copilot for our tenant. We'll select the enterprise name in the top right, and then we will navigate to billing and licensing towards the top middle of your page. On the billing and licensing page, we will go to the left and select licensing. On the licensing page, you can see that I have licensing configured for different products, including Enterprise Cloud, which kicks in once I add users to an organization. I myself am in the organization, so you can see I already consume one license. We also have Advanced Security and, of course, Copilot. I will navigate to Enable Copilot and enable it for my tenant. Copilot is now enabled for my tenant. However, I still need to grant access and assign and grant organizations the ability to assign licenses. You can see that organizations can have access to Copilot, but only specific organizations. So I must specify them. You can also see that I can select users and teams at the enterprise level to assign Copilot to. We will take a look at this in the Copilot only video. However, in my case, I want to assign Copilot licenses through an organization because remember, my users are leveraging source code as well. In the organizations view, I will select grant access and I will search for the organization that I have created. The organization is here and by default it is disabled, and I will select the tier of Copilot that I want to enable it for, Copilot Business or Enterprise. In my case, I want Copilot Business. I will then grant access to this organization. We have now allowed the organization to enable Copilot for its users. However, there are still a few more steps. First, I will want to configure policies for my Copilot across the entire GitHub tenant. I will navigate to Policies at the top and then select Copilot on the left. These are my Copilot policies and there are different categories. I can configure content exclusions. I can configure the models that are available to Copilot. For example, I have models such as Anthropic's Claude models, Google's Gemini models, and of course, OpenAI models and also XAI models. The suggestion is to allow your developers to leverage all the models possible to your tier so that they can experiment with what works best for them. Going back to the policies view, If I scroll down, I can also configure the features for Copilot, including where Copilot is available, for example, in github.com, in the CLI, in the IDE, and as well as other configuration mechanisms for features. Again, review these features and enable those that are relevant to your teams and organization. Now that my Copilot is configured for my GitHub tenant, let's now start assigning licenses in the organization. We will go back to the organizations view, select the organization, and before assigning Copilot, we have to add users to this organization. Remember, they want to host their own source code. To add users to an organization, best practice is to add them through a team. So I will select teams. Teams are a subconstruct of organizations and allow for different teams within a business unit to collaborate with RBAC rules that give them specified access. I will create a new team and I will name it GitHub Enterprise plus Copilot team. I can add a description and importantly, I can synchronize it with an identity provider group. If you have watched our SSO configuration video, you will see that synchronization is possible between GitHub and your Entra ID. These are groups that were configured in Entra ID and can be synchronized with your GitHub so that your users can just be directly provisioned from Entra ID. In my case, I want my GitHub Copilot users to also have their code on GitHub, so I will select this team. I will keep the team visibility and notifications as is, and I will create the team. The team is now created. After refreshing the page, I will now see that my team members have been synchronized from Entra ID. With the team created, let's assign GitHub Copilot to this team. We will go back to the organization. Remember that a team sits under an organization, and we will go to settings. Under settings, we will go down to the left, select Copilot, select access, and here on this access page, from the organization view, we can start adding seats. We will add the following seats by clicking on the button, and I can select for everyone in this organization or business unit, or I can select for specific members. In my case, I only have one team that I want to give Copilot access to. This is the team right here, my GitHub Enterprise and Copilot team. There were two members, and so 2 seats will be added, and I will continue to purchase. I will confirm, and there you go. GitHub Copilot is now assigned to these 2 team members in an organization. These 2 team members now have access to Copilot in their IDEs and wherever platform you have configured in your policies, and can now navigate to this organization and create repositories to start managing their code.